Consider This, with host Carol Schrader, is supported in part by Better Business Equipment and by Nebraskans for Public Television. Consider This, a news and information program recorded on the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha. From the Fireside Lounge in the Milo Bale Student Center, here is your host, Carol Schrader.
Hello and welcome back to UNO, and we're getting to the end of the year. One of the last things we think about is football. But in Omaha, one of the first things you're going to start thinking about is a special project for kids put on by my guest. Rather familiar face, rather familiar name in Nebraska. I'm being a little understatement here. Johnny Rogers, welcome back. I'm proud to call Johnny a friend. We have so much to cover, so we're going to do it. But I do want to start off by saying that one of the things that Johnny does is called the Husker Heisman College Hall of Fame Youth and Pro Sports Career and Leadership Fair. And we're going to talk about that at the end of the show. And I think you ought to stay tuned because I think it's one of Johnny's crowning achievements in the sense that he's really giving back to the community. But I know that anyone watching this, I would be remiss if I don't start talking about football. Now, I was confused. You were inducted to the Hall of Fame last year, right?
I was inducted into the College Hall of Fame for 2000, and I will be enshrined in 2001.
Well, that's what I went to the internet, and they said Enshrinement Festival set for August 10th and 11th, and they had your name down there. And I go, now, wait a minute, I thought, so you were inducted, and now you'll be enshrined?
Right, enshrined in August, where they have another type of a ceremony. And since I haven't been through it, I can't tell you exactly what it's going to be like. We have a little flag football game where I have to get myself in shape and see if John Elway can still throw the deep one.
Well, that's pretty exciting. And, you know, you have sort of the repopularization of Johnny Rogers. You've always been popular here, but nationwide, you've really been in demand. You've been kind of on the circuit here and there, haven't you?
Yes, it's like I've come up from the Phoenix and been back up into the light again. I get requests to go all over the country for different things now, and I probably it's as popular now as I really was in the 70s, even here in Nebraska.
Everyone remembers, so we'll start out with probably, you know, the game of the century.
Well, they still remember that.
Oh, they sure do. And everyone, whenever they show it, and they still show it on national television over and over again, that's that 72-yard punt return. Is my memory
72,
right? Where it was vintage Johnny Rogers. And can you still remember it like it was yesterday?
Well, I remember it like it was yesterday because it's played all the time, every year, and on Thanksgiving Day for the last 20 years or more. They've played it, and now classic sports have come into play, and we see it over and over again, and that's possibly, you know, the coming up with the kids now, and the kids are watching the classic sports. And so it's bringing the old back into new and bringing them in together, and it really shows just how competitive and how strong a concept of a team concept that we actually have working together. Because, you know, we always figured that you have to have a big play to win a football game, and that was a big play, but that wasn't like the most important play. But that was just to set it off on a level of playing where you got the number one team playing against the number two team, the number one offense against the number two defense in the country, and you go to a whole football game and you have one turnover in the whole football game.
Which is incredible.
And that happened to be for the losing team, Oklahoma. But other than that, we darn near had a perfect football game.
Okay, now of course everyone talks about that punt return, but there was another pretty important play. Was what, 3rd and 9? Jerry Taggy's trying to get the ball off, and he's nearly sacked. Isn't that what they call it? He's nearly squished, but he gets the ball off, and it was one of those scoop dive things. I mean, but that's what was do or die time.
Well, that was a much bigger play than the punt return. And if it was the bigger play in the game, that would have to be the biggest play of the game, because if we have to turn the ball back over and we don't get a chance to go on the score, then they'll probably win the football game. So, you know, I tell people all the time, they talk about the punt return, but it was really the 3rd down and 10 that actually just kept the ball moving. That was really the biggest play of the football game.
3rd and 10, I stand corrected.
Our 3rd and 9.
They're not. It
Third
was
down.
3rd, and it
Third
seemed like a lot of yards.
Make it or not.
Yeah, 3rd and got to do it.
Yeah, it's got to get it done.
You were the first Nebraska player to get a Heisman Trophy. Mike Rozier, obviously, the second and the last one to get one. That Heisman Trophy, it's the buzz. I mean, it is just the one. You know, there's the Outland Trophy. There's all kinds of other honors that come. But the Heisman Trophy is the creme de la creme of the football awards, and it has certainly opened many doors for you, and rightfully so. But I mean, did it go to your head at first? You were never a real
I think
big-headed guy.
If it was to go to my head, Carol, it would probably go to my head now more so than earlier in my life. When you're young and you win awards, and you win many awards, I won quite a few awards coming up.
And you still have so many records even standing today.
Yeah, well, it did, and I never even looked at the records, and I never thought about the trophies, and not really thought about the significance of what we actually had done. We didn't know 30 years ago that our game of the century was really going to be the game of the century, or how much of an impact that we would make on Nebraska football in winning our first national championship, and what type of a tradition we were actually establishing. We look back and I appreciate those things very much, and realize just how special and blessed I've been to been able to be the one to actually to carry that type of a torch. But it's an award that just keeps getting better with time. The responsibility gets greater with time as well, but it's back in the day when I won it, it wasn't that big of a hoploo.
Well, it was part of a year of probably being a young man on a team of a lot of young men. You had to be high as a kite just all season on the big build. I mean, so you probably remember that. It was just.
Well, Carol, in that year, you know, I was, you know, had just gotten out of trouble. I had been in trouble a few years ago, before that. So it was as much of a campaign against me winning the Heisman as it was for me to that.
Some people may not remember what the trouble was.
Well, we had a gas station holdup, or a robbery, or a prank, as we had called it back in when I was a freshman in college. And so it was 2 years later. You know, it never thought that I would be running for the Heisman Trophy, so it really wasn't the type of times that would be normally for the positive hoopla that was going. There was a lot of challenging times going through those times, and there was a lot of people who really thought that I might not deserve to be considered for the Heisman because of my, you know, sets off the field, and really wasn't thinking about the contribution I had made on the field.
Well, there was talk about that, I remember at the time. Did you feel it? Did you feel like, if I don't get it, it will be because I was a prankster, I got in trouble, I hung with a few wrong people at the time, made bad decision? Would you have felt like you didn't get it because you were black and made a bad decision? Would you feel like you wouldn't have gotten it because you weren't the best, although we in Nebraska felt it was a no-brainer? I mean, what kind of ran through your head? You know, if I don't get it, it means...
Well, if I didn't get it, it would meant that I really didn't deserve it, because, you know, what we were going through was a reality. I had made some mistakes back then, and I had done something stupid, and I felt just about as stupid as you can get. You know, trying to, you know, doing things I wasn't doing for no reason, just being young and wild and crazy. Now, when you get to be 50 years old, like I am right now, you go through a lot of times where you can see everybody's wild and crazy and do those strange things at the end. But I don't think it ever came to be a time where I thought it would be because I was black. And I never really thought it was an issue where I wasn't really the best at the particular time against the competition that I had, because I had a host of a team that was better than everybody else, who put me on a level to have the opportunity to be even better than the rest of the guys was. Because we had a great group of guys that I actually played with that always worked hard to help me get those type of accomplishments. So we deserved it. without question, because we always worked hard to get it, and we worked hard to get our national championships, every single win, and we never played for an award. We never played, for just the ego of it. We were really just trying to be the best we could, and in our minds, whether we were individuals or as a team, we thought we all were the best. There was no doubt in my mind that Richard Glover was the best college football lineman at the time. There was no doubt in my mind that Willie Harper was an All-American. There really was no doubt in my mind that Jerry Tagge was going to be a leader and was going to go into the National Football League, because we were all a step above the rest of them, behind the type of motivation and stimulation and that Bob Devaney had given us, and the leadership that we had learned from more of a father figure than we had than a coach. And he coached us through life as well as through football, and we still remember a lot of those coachings as we go through life, and that's some of the reasons why me and the guys that I know, that we always try to give back, because we appreciate from where we actually came from, and it was a white guy who brought us there.
Bob Devaney was a character among characters.
No,
He's
real
also
character, to say
I've
the
had
least.
many conversations
He played a lot of pranks.
with Bob over the years, working in the media. But he, when push came to shove, it was the father figure that sort of won out.
Well, he was a real guy. He was a real guy, and he wasn't uppity. He could really relate to the players. We really were convinced that he was in our best interest, and he was a real type of guy, and that we can pattern ourselves after. And we could kid around with him. We could be serious when times were tough. He would jack you up with the best of them, and you would work harder to please Bob than you would have done on your own. And he taught us basically about the mastermind concept. When two or more people can get together in the spirit of harmony, you can create things from the ether of the universe that just weren't there before. And when we did it the first time, we were convinced that we could go back and do it again. And you take those type of teachings and you go out and you try to create and manifest other type of relationships with other people on other levels. And that's what a good sports team background in sports would do for you.
Now, when you went to the Canadian Football League and then with a stint in the NFL, and you did a fine job, but back here reading about you, we go, that's our Johnny, and he should be just, burning up the boards. How was that experience for you?
Well, I was Rookie of the Year my first year. I was All-Pro for 4 years in a row there. I was runner-up to the most valuable player in the country, and I gained over 2,000 yards every year from the first year on. There really wasn't much more I could do.
No, well, we were distanced. You have to understand.
We didn't have cable TV,
right,
and people didn't see and didn't know all the things that were happening there. But I had quite an illustrious career in the Canadian Football League, and at the time it was really my style of football, because it was wide open.
You bet.
We passed a lot. We were doing a lot of things then that the NFL does now, and we were bringing into the mix the wide open football that we are so fond of these days.
What do you think about the XFL?
I think the XFL is a good brand of football as well. I think that we have good players, and I think it's a stepping stone for guys to get into the next level. And I think it's needed. We have too many guys that do have talent and do have an opportunity, and people are watching it, and advertisers are sponsoring it, and the players are trying to keep themselves in shape up for it. And it's arena football is a good brand of football for entertainment. Entertainment, for the kids, and a good stepping stone as well. And as long as I've tried to base my ideals upon, as long as people are trying to do a positive thing and going in the right direction, then it is just a good thing, and it's good for football. Just like farm teams are good for baseball.
Absolutely. When your career in professional football was over, what was Johnny Rodgers alone in his home or his apartment or his car driving around? When you finally had to come to grips that you had to take another road, how did Johnny Rodgers feel?
Well, when I had to take that grip, I was on crutches and getting ready to take a journey through a wheelchair and through being crippled. They had told me that I had cracked a chip out of my kneecap as big as $50, and I would never really be able to play any type of sports again, whether it was just shooting a basketball in my yard with my sons or doing anything whatsoever. And I thought that was really ludicrous, so it never really turned out that way. I worked myself back up to where I can do pretty much everything I can do right now. And I just wanted to see that God had set me down and decided I was going to have to go into another direction now, and so what was that going to be? I was living in San Diego, and I had just come from Montreal, and it just came upon me that I was in the area where they had the largest saturation of cable in the United States, and they didn't have a cable TV magazine. And in Montreal, they had a TV Hebdo, which is like an entertainment and TV magazine. And between Montreal and San Diego, I put together the first weekly cable TV magazine in the United States, in the largest saturated cable in the area in San Diego in the United States, and ended up with the largest magazine in the history of San Diego with a 75,000 ABC audited circulation, with no background in that area. So I felt again that God had some special things planned for me, and I had came through school in broadcasting, and that flunked my first class was in broadcasting. And then I was in the broadcast business through the magazine and in advertising, which led me to come back to school 10 years after that to get a degree in advertising and a degree in broadcasting.
That was kind of I think a big, people that were paying attention at that time, you know, Johnny was out of the football spotlight, but there were articles about how you'd gone back to school, and I generally feel that people were really glad, because Johnny Rodgers is a very influential name. And you said now with, you know, classic TV and all this, you know, it's a big whoop again. And so you're a big whoop to kids.
Right.
And getting, you know, saying that you can go back and you can, the education's important. This is a message that you're driving home with the, and I have to get the name right because it's so long, it's the Husker Heisman College Hall of Fame Youth Pro Sports Career and Leadership Fair. This is the 4th annual one coming up this coming Friday. And I've heard you deliver your speeches. You know that you have an impact on these kids, don't you?
Well, I have an impact on them and a responsibility to them, you know, and to the community to which I come from. And that's the message I'm trying to get over to them about being responsible for themselves and being responsible for their families and being responsible for their education, their own education. And I had to, was going around the country speaking for the United Way on the breakfast circuit, and I was telling kids that you can be what you want to be and do what you want to do, and all the time that I had to quit school. And I figured either I had to take those quotes out of my speeches or I had to do something about it. It's why I came back, and the reason why I got 2 degrees instead of 1 is because for non-traditional students, we don't have a lot of time to actually go back and to do that. And if I could get 2 degrees, then it would kind of bring it home to them that they possibly get 1 degree. And these kids here, we're trying to get them in all the different aspects of sports other than playing. I'm looking for guys who want to be agents or want to be sports lawyers or want to be sports doctors or want to be broadcasters or announcers or physical therapists or everything to do with sports other than actually participating, because we have so many different kids that love the game. But if we don't play the game, then we don't be part of the game.
And they don't realize that when they're young that there are only so many slots. I mean, how many kids want to be the next Johnny Rodgers or Michael Jordan or whatever? And you hear that all the time.
All the time.
But you know firsthand that even if you get in the game, even if you make it to the top, that being at the pinnacle can be a momentary thing.
Could be very momentarily, and because of football being the average life expectancy of a football player is about 1.5 years. So even if you do have a illustrious career of 7 years, there's still life after football and life after sports. So there's something you need to balance yourself off with to get yourself going for the rest of your life, not just part of your life.
So Anna, because I've heard you give the speech to the kids that you know, you really will be in control of your own destiny, not if you can just you know, catch the pass or dunk the basketball, but if you can then, be a well-rounded person that's educated and
Well, right
do
now
all
we're
kinds of
we're
things.
trying to push the 3 A's, which is athletics, of course, because that I'm a great believer in athletics being a positive force. But the arts, you got to know where you came from, and some cultural aspects in your backgrounds, art, athletics, and academics, and you got to get into the academics. You really can't. You can't if you're not coming in from junior high, going into in the high school, talking about college preparatory classes, then you've been misdirected already. And some people might be coming out talking about the art, about I don't want to go to college. So, well, if you don't want to go to college, then you need to get into special training. So I'm working with the Steelworkers Union here now to get guys in the programs where they can become contractors and apprenticeship programs. When you go into an apprenticeship program in the steelworkers, you'll get a 4-year degree paid for, and they pay you while you go to school, and you'll be able to get a job anywhere in the country, anytime, or anywhere in the world, actually in third world countries, because everyone's not really going to college. But you have to have some type of training so you can see who you are. Gallup does a course down here that we have a thing called Strength Finder, where it's to eradicate racism, so people don't be upset with people about what they're doing, because it teaches you God has made all of us good at something. And you're not going to be mad at the next guy for what they're doing or jealous when we realize that we all are good at something, and they help you to identify what that is, and then you need to just go after it.
But the neat thing about, because I've been to one of these Husker Heisman College Hall of Fame things before, and you bring kind of the sports names in. I know Marlon Briscoe is going to be there, and Mike Rozier, certainly two
John
other
David Crow,
great.
Billy Sims, about 6, 7 Heisman people.
And they all will deliver the same message. I mean, that's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful to kids that see what traditionally, particularly in the inner city, that sports was one of the, sports and music were like the only ways out. Well, I think they're learning better now. I mean, I think kids today know more, but you're reinforcing that.
We really are enforcing that, but just like in advertising, as you know, it takes repetition. We have to get that message over and over and over again, and tell them what we told them, and tell them what we told them, and tell them what we told them again. And they got to see these faces and these people over and over again. And the mayor has been quite helpful in helping us get this established, but we haven't really been able to get the other big corporations and the city people to get behind this project, to give them that repetition. So it's been very, very difficult in trying to really get it established. And as important as it is, and I have a testimonial from Hal Dobb, from Bob Bell, the president of the chamber, from Jay Baum, the head of the Visitor Conventions Bureau, and they all say this is on the level of the College World Series or the other football aspects that we bring out to town.
Oh, absolutely.
But we can't get the people, we can't get the corporations behind it.
And that's too bad. This is the first time this year, though, that they've actually been able to have it where the kids are transported by bus from school. I mean, so it's during a school day. It sort of rises in their stature.
Well, it does, and that brings up a good point.
As opposed to
because,
Saturday morning, they got to get their own transportation.
Well, they don't have to get transportation because we're sending buses for them.
Right.
And we had buses for them last year when it was out of school. But we have trouble right now having the counselors at OPS to getting the kids involved, to getting them to the program. We don't have the counselors' participation. Now, Tom Harvey, the head of the school board, I mean, he's with it. Minnie Charles, she's with it. But there's different counselors around there that it's like Benson, all of Benson. We have 7 kids coming. The question to them today was, if we got UPEX to send a bus for 7 people, I might as well send a car. Send my van for 7 people.
And you're
the whole
holding it
school.
at Metro Community College South
Metro
Campus.
Yeah, right.
But you know, it's not like running down that football field where you'd have to do it in 10 seconds or less. These things do take a little time, but you have made a lot of progress.
Well, they do take a lot of time. They take a tremendous amount of money, and the participation on everybody's part.
Right.
And if everybody does just a little bit, then we don't have really a big burden on anyone. But the point bringing home is how important it is for our kids and our community, and that everybody really should participate in the deal.
Well, if there's any corporate honchos out there that want to know more about it, it's Friday, May 18th at the South Omaha campus in the morning. And they maybe ought to have somebody from their human resource department
it's
stop by.
Friday in the morning for that, and it's Friday night at the Players Club, Friday evening. It's at the Regency Shopping Center for autograph sessions for all the guys, Huskers and Heisman. We have over 25 guys that be there for autographs. We'll have at the Regency that evening for a silent auction and a reception that we have where we have items like Muhammad Ali's boxing gloves, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar basketball, Johnny Unitas's helmets, and we have things that you do not have access to here. And then we'll go on to Arnold Palmer's new golf course, the Players Club, for our golf outing in association with the people who have participated. And we have had, a fair amount of people that have jumped on the bandwagon, but we need to make it as easy as we can to raise money for the Johnny Rogers Youth Foundation, the Manhood Training Program, Joe Edmondson's the YMCA, and the NCAA Degree Completion Program, which is a program for athletes who have depleted their education, their eligibility, and have to go back and pay for their schooling now when they don't have a degree and don't have a job.
When they did a good job working on the field or on the courts so that we could enjoy it too. We only have about a minute left, and there's been a little publicity lately. You're in everything from helping these kids get union apprenticeships to making blankets.
Well, I have a license.
Or
I have a license with the NCAA and the collegiate licensing, where I do in the JCPenney catalog. We have 18 million circulation, but we do the sheets and comforters and everything for kids' bedrooms for 12 schools: Notre Dame, Michigan, Nebraska, Penn State. And I started that business when I went back to college to supplement my income while I was going back to school. And now it's went from Nebraska to now we have 25 licenses for the top 25 schools in the nation.
Well, Johnny, you still weave and dodge with the best of them. You've had so many careers during your life, and you've always kept going. You're an inspiration. Both to me personally, to a lot of Nebraskans, and to the kids that I saw last year and will see again this Friday. I want to thank you. What's your one parting shot to the people of Nebraska who've been following you?
Well, I'll just tell them there is no place like Nebraska. There really isn't, and we have great fans, and I do have a great support from our fans in general, and they made it really good for me in raising my kids, and I'm just happy that my kids were raised here and that they've been able to go on to college and to do well in their lives. And I think for a father, my greatest accomplishment is probably just seeing my kids do well.
Right answer. Thanks a lot, Johnny Rogers. Okay. And remember, you can watch us on the web. Just go to UNO-TV at unomaha.edu. We'll see you next week on Consider This.
Consider This, with host Carol Schrader, is supported in part by Better Business Equipment and by Nebraskans for Public Television.